Oh, the joys of full-time RV life. These are 200 amp hour lithium iron phosphate batteries and 2 battery boxes for the video I'm gonna do for you today. I'm Steve, and this is Livin' for a Livin'. And today's Livin' for a Livin' exercise is to go double the runtime, double the capacity of your batteries by taking 2 batteries and making them into one big battery. Let's get started. Today, I am going to take my RV, which is off camera parked over there because it's easier for me to move than for the RV to move. And I'm gonna double the capacity of its battery system. It currently has a 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery on the tongue of the trailer. And I'm gonna put 2 up there. So we're gonna go from 100 amp hours to 200 amp hours. For all you technical type folks, that's called parallel. And for the rest of us that don't care about that stuff, we're gonna wire it together. Let me show you the moving parts here, and then we'll get into removing the old parts and all kinds of other stuff. First off, we're gonna need some batteries, and I have picked these Watt Cycle 12.8 volt 100 amp hour batteries. They have Bluetooth, they have low temperature charging protection in them. It says trolling motor, but it's a battery. The battery doesn't care what you connect it to, and it's gonna be a lot of fun playing with these. Let me show you the other one, because they match. See, there you go, right there. That's how you go from 100 amp hours to 200 amp hours. There's more to it than that. That's what the video is about. Let's talk about hardware. The Watt Cycle batteries come with a nice bag of hardware, and what you'll get in there is a couple of M8 bolts. You'll get a long set and a short set, and if they cooperate, we'll be able to show them next to each other. So this depends on how much stuff you're going to be putting underneath of the bolts on your battery terminals. So it's nice that they give you the long set and the short set, and then you can move these washers around, keep at least one lock washer, and then you can move 2 of the regular flat washers around for thickening things up or thinning things down. And then these here are pretty heavy gauge battery wires, and I will leave a link in the description down below for these guys. And what you need to do is connect positive to positive and negative to negative on both batteries. And I'll show you that up close as well, because there's another little trick I want to show you for how to connect the trailer to the 2 batteries once you have the 2 batteries connected to each other. And then lastly, what you get are these little plastic caps, and I happen to really dig these guys. I leave them on the battery even when it's on the tongue and inside of the battery case, just in case when I'm working on it and I drop something, I don't connect the 2 posts together as easily as just dropping a tool across the 2 battery terminals. And then I'm gonna start out with the short terminals because you gotta pick one, so why not start with the short one? Next up, there is a bit of logistics involved. You can't just plug 2 batteries together and have them all work out. What I'm going to do is a couple of tests to make sure these batteries pass my test. I'm gonna do a full charge because they don't come shipped fully charged. I'm gonna do a full discharge to verify that they are in fact 100 amp hour batteries. And then I'm gonna do a full recharge, which is going to be 1 complete cycle, which is going to let me know that these batteries work. From there, once the 2 batteries are fully charged, then you can connect them together. The other thing I want to do is put down the born on date on these batteries just for safekeeping, 2/23/25. And I'm going to give these batteries a name. That one is battery A, this one is battery B. And the reason behind the paper and the Sharpie is because these batteries are black, and black Sharpie is not going to show up very well on black batteries, number 1. And number 2 is because of any warranty issues or anything along those lines. These batteries are good for 5,000 complete charge and discharge cycles, which is longer than I'm going to have the RV actually. And they are good for 15,000 non-complete discharge cycles. Like, let's say 40% depth of discharge. That's a hard thing to say. And honestly, that means I'm gonna need to will these to somebody. But there is battery B, and you saw battery A, we're good to go. So next up, I'm gonna need to take my faithful battery charger here. This one comes from Power Queen, and it is a 40 amp charger. I'm gonna plug it in to the port on the outside of the RV. And then it comes with a charging cable, and this one here is blue and brown instead of red and black, but that doesn't actually matter. What matters is if I put the brown to red and I put the blue to black, and I've used this thing so much that I need new heat shrink for it. Not that the wires care, but I care for safety reasons. We are plugged in, let's turn her on. And we get a nice little display, but we'll come back when this battery is fully charged and charge the other one, and then we'll start a discharge cycle. Battery B is fully charged, so I'm going to turn the charger off, and then we're going to get onto battery A charging. And what I should do one of these days when I'm around my storage unit is get some red tape and some black tape and make the colors work. There we go, charging up next battery. And then because there are 2 batteries, I thought it might be smart to keep a little checklist going. So battery B is fully charged, battery A is on the charger. Let's get battery B to discharging. Here we are at the discharge bench. I'll show you this for both batteries. I'll show you how it's set up with the B battery, and then I'll show you the results of the A and B next to each other. So we've got this thing all plugged in. We've got a couple of alligator clips here and some decent gauge wire. And then we have this MakerHawk battery tester device, which is actually really slick. I really enjoy using this thing, and it's mostly because of how simple it is. So the first thing I want to do is I want to long press this button here until it beeps, and then that zeroes out all of the numbers, which were technically already zeroed out, but I wanted you to hear the beep and know how the machine works. And it's telling me that it's 13 volts, and what I need to do is I need to turn this thing up, and I'm going to discharge this thing at 10 amps continuous draw, and you can see the voltage drop a little bit. That has something to do with the gauge of the wires over here. These are not the biggest gauge wires, but it all maths out the same in the end. So we're at 7.79, 914, 970, 982, and then this is your coarse adjustment and this is your fine adjustment. So I'm going to turn this up to 10, and what it's doing is it's taking the power out of the battery over here, and it is turning it into heat over here, and then it is doing a ton of calculations over here. And this is a 100 amp hour battery at 10 amp drain, so we'll be back in 10 hours. I mean, you guys will be back in a scene change, but it'll take me 10 hours for this battery and 10 hours for the next battery, so 20 hours total for me. While we're doing that discharging, looking at the Bluetooth app is probably a good idea so we can get a feel for the discharge. I've got a battery inside discharging and a battery outside charging, so there's 2 of them. We'll see how the app handles 2 and which one we connect to first. And here is the manual. I'm expecting some kind of QR code or something, and there it is. Let's get out the phone and let's take a look. Cover up the iOS one since this is Android. Good to go. All right, it gives me the option to install BMS Meta. BMS Meta, proceed. Nope, I'm expecting this to take me to the App Store. That's an ad. So it wants me to sideload this. I don't know. Let's see if it's in the Play Store. BMS Meta. Okay, it's in the Play Store. Good. Safer to install things from the Play Store, but you can sideload stuff if you want to. Let's open her up, giving me a warning here. So it's telling me that I need to allow get device location, and this is actually an Android thing, and it's probably more of a Bluetooth protocol thing than an Android thing. It just wants to know what region your Bluetooth is so that it can do a bunch of Bluetooth region negotiation stuff, and really you don't need to know my GPS coordinates to do that. And if it's within 30 feet Bluetooth range, then it's fine. So this is kind of a weird Android thing. So this is the BMS Meta app letting me know that the Bluetooth functionality inside of Android is going to come up and ask me this really weird question about location stuff. So we'll say agree. It doesn't work. So I'll just say precise while using the app. Allow BMS Meta to determine relative positions of nearby devices. Again, if it's within 30 feet, it's within 30 feet. Allow it to make phone calls. No. Allow it to manage phone calls. No. Ooh, Wi-Fi. I could do this over Wi-Fi. I could check in on my batteries while I'm out at dinner one night. I'm gonna do Bluetooth. The app should be the same once it's there. Okay, so this is the outdoor one, and that's the indoor one. I'm gonna say 857 is the outdoor one. And I bet there's a thing on the side of the battery. Let me take a look on the side of the battery. There it is, that little silverish metal looking sticker on the bottom says XDZN001B497. And that is the second choice. I honestly thought that it would have gotten the outdoor one before it got the indoor one. Let's take a look at the outdoor one and also see if there's a way to rename these. It took it a second to figure out what was going on. It is charging. It's at 68% currently, 39.7 amps going in, 13.6 volts going in, 539.92 watts. Nice. And it's got 3 cycles. So they did some testing before they sent this out. Nice. It's actually good that they left that in there if that's actually the truth, because I've seen these come to me with 0 cycles, which means A, it's never been tested, or B, it was tested and the number was reset. But either way, this is the number that they're gonna use for their warranty issues, and 3 out of 5,000, whatever, fine. At the bottom, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the internal cells inside the battery, and you can see how closely they are balanced: 3402, 3404, 3405, 3395. And those will go up and down, but as long as they're pretty close, which they are, everything should be fine. Warning message. There is no warning message. Setting. Protection setting. I don't have a password. That's probably in the book somewhere. Parameter setting. Password. I do like that it has a password. Let's see. if there is a password setting in the book. Let me check the side of the battery. I don't see anything on the side of the battery. It's probably something simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros as the current password. Nope, I don't know what the password is. Let's try resetting password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it says there's an error. I will figure that out and we will keep moving on, because not having the password to my own battery is kind of a problem. Okay, so there's the battery that's discharging. Local connectivity. B497. Okay, so B497 is battery A, B857 is battery B. So the higher number is the higher battery. And I am outside of the metal box. And this is the one that's discharging after we fully charged it. We're pulling 9.8 out, so minus 9.8. And I've got it set for 10, so that's pretty close. 13.22 volts, we've pulled 129.56 watts out. This one only has one cycle on it. 3307, 3306, 3308, 3302 for cell balance. We've got some temperature readings in there. All the internal cells inside the battery are at 30-ish degrees. That first one's a little warmer. Charge switch, discharge switch, so you can turn the battery off remotely. That's nice. So I just finished up lunch and a little bit of searching online to get the password, and we've got it. So let's get in here and take a look at some of those parameters that are in there. And I can share the password with y'all because I just found it right on their website. So it is what it is. It's asking me again. I closed the app. I went back in. It's asking me again if it wants to make and manage phone calls. No, I don't want you to use my phone to make phone calls. Okay, local connectivity. I am inside now. The one battery is outside where we are set up with our charging station. The other battery is over up by the front in the studio with the discharge station. So can we get both of them now or not? We can still get both of them. So that's actually pretty good that I'm getting the Bluetooth through the wall. 497 is battery A, which is currently charging. Well, I can get the broadcast through the wall. Okay, there we go. Getting all the data. All right, we are charging. Okay, let's go into settings. Parameter setting for protection. Enter the password. 8888888. I knew it was something simple. I just didn't know which one it was. And sometimes it's easier just to search for these things. Okay, so the cell over voltage protection, you can change. It's currently at 365. The over voltage protection release, when a charge comes back down from 3.65 to 3.35, it will allow it. Delay time, UVP, this is like the most advanced BMS I have seen to date. This is awesome. Pack, so that's all 4 cells inside of the battery. Diff volt protect, charge over current protection. So you can't charge over 120 amps, okay? Discharge over current protection. You can't discharge over 220 amps. And I wouldn't recommend trying to pull 220 amps out of a 100 amp hour battery. It can do it, but you need some really thick gauge wire and all kinds of crazy stuff that an RV is not going to need. But it's neat that there are these extra settings in there. Battery parameter setting. Nominal capacity 100 amp hours. Rated capacity is 83%. Interesting. Cell reference voltage 3.3, BL threshold 3.4, BL cell 0.3, sleep waking times 30 minutes. Okay, awesome. Collect board settings. Set the number of collecting boards, 1. Okay, cool. There's some really neat stuff in here. Oh, you advanced hackers. Over temperature protection 60, and then we release at 50, that's in Celsius. Under temperature protection is -5, release at 0. Again, Celsius, over temp protection on discharge, over temp protection on release. Nice. Restarting the system, BMS upgrade, download firmware. What's the upgrade? Please enter the security firmware code. Okay, I don't need to do that. Let's see our other battery, 857. This one's in the same room with me, essentially, because you know RVs are all one big room. And this one's still doing the discharge thing. Setting, parameter setting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, same password for both, as I expected. Well, there you have it. That is the battery management system. The BMS, the battery management system. And it's nice to see these things. It's nice to see the on and off switch, so I can actually turn my battery off from discharging and charging, but I don't know what would happen if I turned it off from charging and discharging. Yeah, that's an interesting edge case. I'm going to put it in storage. I'm going to turn it off on both ways, and then I need to use the app to turn it back on, but it's turned off. So how do I do that? I can't charge it to wake it up, and it may have fully discharged itself in storage due to the BMS running, the Bluetooth software running. I don't know. Interesting use case. But not terribly applicable to me right now, and if it does become applicable to me sometime in the future, which I don't think so, because I live in my RV full time, so I'm not gonna fully discharge it, I'll make another video and let you all know with an update. And we're gonna do an update video on this as well. This is the install video, and then once the install is done, we're gonna do a usage video. Be sure you're subscribed for that. All right, that is battery A, fully done being charged. Battery B is done the discharge. Let's go check it out. There we are with battery B on the test bench, and here we are with the results. We're at 0.0000000 across the top row, so no volts coming out and no amps coming out, and we pulled 101.43 amp hours out of the 100 amp hour battery. I'd say that's a pass. Let's get the notes taken, get the battery swapped, and start discharging battery A. Battery B is full. And while that was filling up, this is battery A, and battery A fully discharged at 101.59 amp hours. Excellent. Battery B, full recharge, no problems. Battery A, 101.59. So now I gotta get that battery on the charger. My RV already has one of these 100 amp hour batteries in the tongue already. I guess I said already twice. And what I found out when I boondocked at Quartzsite for a week is that I can go for 24 hours before needing a recharge. No solar, no battery charger, no generator, no nothing, 24 hours, and I am out. And this was in colder weather, so part of that was running the furnace, the other part was running the lights and charging all of the USB mobile devices and those kinds of things. And it is not unheard of to have more than 24 hours without a clear view of the sun. So I want to make sure that I have enough runtime to be able to stay out longer without running the generator at all. And the way to do that is to hook these batteries together in parallel. That's where you take the two batteries and wire them positive to positive and negative to negative. And instead of doubling the voltage, which is what happens when you wire them in series, you are doubling the capacity by connecting them together. So you either get 24 volts, 100 amps, or you get 12 volts, 200 amps. And what I want is 12 volts, 200 amps, because everything in my RV is 12 volts. When I say 200 amps, I mean 200 amp hours of runtime out of the battery. So as an example, the furnace in my RV runs on 12 volts. It takes 9 amps. So if you do some real quick math, let's call it 10 amps, I can run for 20 hours the furnace non-stop before those two batteries would be dead. And with only a single battery, a 100 amp hour battery, I can run for 10 hours non-stop. It would be a little hot in the RV, and that's why they actually last a little bit longer, is because you don't run your furnace for 24 hours straight, or for 10 hours straight, or for any hours straight most of the time. You'd have to have a pretty cold RV in order to require running your furnace for an hour in order to bring you up to your comfortable temperature, which does happen from time to time, but that's not the moral of the story here. The moral of the story here is that all your stuff doesn't run all day long, and that's why you can get long time periods out of your batteries. So let's get back to hooking these things together. This is the front tongue area of my RV. You can see I have an existing battery box on the tongue already that's got the 100 amp hour 12 volt battery in it that I mentioned. And then I have this empty space right here. And I got super excited about getting a battery box. I use a company called NOCO for battery boxes because they make really high quality battery boxes, and the lids snap on, so I don't need a strap or anything like that. And they're also kind of fancy looking. They hold the battery, yes, but they have a little bit of added strength in the corners and so on, which makes them bigger than the size I have here in order to put it. The other thing that I have is one of these weight distribution setups where you have the bars with the chains, which happen to be sitting right here. Normally I put those away, but we're not staying long in this campsite. Maybe y'all can help me out in the comment section below, but I don't know if I actually even need that. My truck is rated at 26,500 pounds worth of towing capacity, and my RV is 9,000 pounds dry. So I am below half the towing capacity of the truck. So the weight distribution system might not even be doing any weight distribution. It might actually be causing more harm than good. I'm gonna do a little research on that. When I find out the answer myself, I am actually gonna make a video on that explaining all of it, but I don't think I need it. So one of the things that you have to worry about in my setup is how this bolt protrudes into the area where that battery box will be. Let me show you on the other side. So over here, this bolt is actually touching this battery box, and that's probably how they measured it. They probably put it as far forward as they could and ran into the battery box and stopped and put it right there. So I'm actually gonna have to move mine and do that at your own risk. I don't know what your tow truck is. I don't know what your trailer capacity is, weight-wise. I don't know what your towing capacity is. This is my setup, and this is how I'm doing it. And I would say I'm a little OCD, so I didn't get just one battery box. I got 2 battery boxes, so that way they are the exact same type, and if I ever need to get replacement parts, I can keep extras for spares and so on. These are not the snap top battery boxes that I like, so these lids just come straight off, and you need to use the included strap to strap them on. I'm not a fan of this, but here we are. And then of course, we're gonna need 2 batteries to go into our 2 battery boxes. And it is always recommended since the dawn of time that you use 2 batteries from the same manufacturer. I don't know how true that is. I always have just mixed and matched them anyway, even mix and matching like the rechargeable AA's with the non-rechargeable alkaline AA's. I haven't had a problem with that. I know you're not supposed to do it, but it's a TV remote. I mean, who cares? I've realized the TV remote is of vital importance, but you can get replacements at Walmart. So I have 2 batteries from the same manufacturer, of the same type, of the same capacity, all that jazz. If your RV is plugged into shore power, then these terminals are hot because they're a battery, and these wires are hot because you are feeding the battery from the converter to charge it up. Treat these as if they are hot and loaded and ready to go, because they are. I love these little caps. They make me feel so safe and secure. It might even be a pretty good idea to go into your circuit breaker panel and turn off the converter to stop charging the battery. But through the magic of trailer wiring, it's probably still gonna be hot even if you do turn it off. So this one here is gonna come out, and I'm gonna let it just dangle down by the ground. And I actually bent it away so that if it does go somewhere, it's not likely to contact the chassis either. Down there like that, put that on top of it. I feel safer like that. And then this one here is already connected to the chassis, so if it touches the chassis, it already is the chassis. That's actually where that wire goes, is straight to the chassis. Let's get this battery out of here. This is a Red Odeo battery. It has been a fantastic battery, but you gotta match batteries, and I'm putting watt cycles in. And the watt cycles that I'm putting in have Bluetooth, so I get to play with technology while I'm messing with my battery. If you're worried about working on your RV in an RV park, check the rules, but also just imagine that you're not the guy with the big camera filming everything you're doing too. This might actually be the first good idea in the history of good ideas. They used hex heads in order to get these out. And I have the wrong size head, but I'm not gonna strip out a stupid Phillips head that's all rusted out. Win one for Forest River finally. And we got it out. And this is a self-tapping screw, so it's kind of like a drill bit and a screw all in one. Oh, I had to say something, didn't I? I think it was just a different size. Yep. It was just a different size. Okay, so Forest River won one and lost one. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what they did. This is the new battery box in place of the old battery box. And you can see that bolt just barely kisses that box. It's a little tight, but we'll figure it out. Over here, on the other hand, you can see that bolt protrudes into that box pretty tough. So I'm actually gonna move them both back just a hair. That's been on there for a while. I'm gonna have to spray that one down. Done. If it sticks in, it shouldn't. WD-40. Let that one set in for a bit. Done. Down. I screwed them down the exact same way the factory did, for better for worse. One screw in that corner, another screw in that corner. Self-tapping screws through the frame cross member. These things are behind the propane tanks, kind of out of the wind. If anything's coming over, it's coming over as downforce to keep those guys down. And it's worked so far. So battery boxes are installed. Now it's time to hook these batteries together. I'm going to show you on the back of the truck. So let's get over there and take a look. If these 2 batteries were not at the same state of charge, this battery, being a higher charge, would try and load as much of its power as it could into this battery to bring it up to the same temperature. You could overload the BMS over here. So that's why we went through all the trouble to drain these, test these, and do a complete refill to make sure that they are as close as possible. You're never gonna get them 100%, but close is good enough. Then from there, once they're connected together, they will balance each other out. Get yourself a nice high gauge wire. I'll leave some links down in the description for you for these guys. And we're gonna connect positive to positive, and then we're gonna connect negative to negative. And these are red on one end and black on the other end. That would be for a series connection. You could get a solid red wire jacket, or you could get a solid black wire jacket, or whatever. The color doesn't terribly matter because you can't really do much with just one of these. Once you get it all together, it'll make sense. Let's do that. These batteries are nice enough to come with different size studs so that you can use thicker hardware if you need it. Put the negative to negative first, and if you look, the battery has a negative symbol on it. You want to make sure, double check, don't hurt yourself. Wear your rubber shoes when you do this. Don't stand in a bucket of water. Don't do it during a thunderstorm. All kinds of fun stuff like that. And now we have a 200 amp hour battery pack. I'm gonna get this disconnected. I'm gonna put it on the tongue. We're gonna get it reconnected and we'll take another look. All right, I put the battery straps back on to make it easy to swap these out for any kind of added maintenance. I'm gonna put these out of the way. I brought my extra screws in case I need bigger ones or smaller ones for the job here, because I'm putting the trailer connected to this. Hook up the negative terminal on the chassis. And then we also need our combiner for that. So this is where you might need the thicker bolts. 1, 2, and again, treat these as if they are live, whether they are or not. And I'll get into how these are supposed to be connected. After I get them all connected, I'll get a better camera angle to show you, but you'll see it as I'm doing it anyway. Go. Yep. All right, let's check our work. You can see the multimeter over there. I'm going to touch positive to positive, and then I'm going to touch negative to the far negative, and I'm reading 13.5 volts. And let me tell you all about why this is set up the way this is set up. I have negative to negative, and I have positive to positive, and then I have the negative wire coming from the RV going to this negative on battery B, and I have the positive wire going to this terminal on battery A. If I was to take the positive wire and put it here, and the negative wire and put it here, this battery would be doing all of the heavy lifting first, and then this battery would be providing support to this one. And some people think that that is going to make this battery age faster than this one here does. So you want to connect them across and not on just one battery. So now this is one big battery bank, 200 amp hours, still considered a 12 volt system, even though we saw that it was 13.5. Batteries like this will always run somewhere around 12 volts, not exactly precisely 100% 12 volts. This one here will actually run from 14.4 down to 10, and then it will shut off at 10. This is the battery named 497, and I did find out you can edit the names by hitting the little pencil and then typing in a new name. I'll edit those a little bit later, but right now you can see that the battery's at 100% and it is charging. Let's go look at the other battery. That would be the 897 one. And this one here is also at 100%. It takes it a second to make the full connection. It's at 100% and we are charging. The BMS in the battery connected to the Bluetooth controller is only going to show you the 4 cells in the battery, so you still have to look at them individually, but we're looking pretty good. And I have my living room floor back. Aces. Gotcha. We're gonna have to do a little tiny bit of customization. Battery boxes aren't typically meant for doing serial parallel type work. And so what I'm gonna do is I am going to arrange these things ever so carefully and find myself a nice little notch that is battery cable wide, and then I will cut that out and make it work. On yours, you'll have to probably customize them in a slightly different way, but that's all it takes. I wind up using this Leatherman Wave on every single project I ever do, and this looks like a good plastic cutting blade. All right, here we go. That fits pretty good. Make sure that these wires aren't rubbing on the plastic edges that you cut. Maybe cut the holes a little bit bigger. That way there's plenty of room for them to move around, and maybe put something in here to stop the battery from sliding front to back. you know, just a little bit of thought and common sense will go a long way. And then last up, don't forget your strap. On a positive note, if you do forget your strap, you'll easily be able to find another Group 24 battery box lid on the side of the road from the other guy that forgot his strap as well. It's like a continuum. And now for the real test. Let's turn the 30 off, and for good measure, let's even unplug it. That's on a light switch. There it is. Don't panic. The fan is still spinning. The fridge is still frigid. The solar is still solaring. And let's plug her back in. Turn her back on. Success. I love it when a plan comes together. Okay, so here is the rundown. 2 batteries from the same manufacturer. 2 batteries of the same capacity. All your wires need to be the same length. Connect your RV to the positive terminal of battery A and the negative terminal of battery B. So that way you are draining both batteries and charging both batteries at an equal rate. Be safe. If you don't think this is something you can tackle, hire an electrician, find an electrician that's a friend, and get after it. Electricity is a harsh mistress, and there is quite a lot of power going on, and you could hurt yourself pretty seriously if you screw up. So be careful. There are links in the description down below for the battery, the meter, the tools, etc. that you need to get this job done. And if you found this video useful, I'd like it if you hit the subscribe button right below the video as well. It's free and it'll make me happy. There's a video right over here I think you'll enjoy next. I'll see you over there.